مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميعا طلاب مدارس الأندلس الإعدادية الثانوية الخاصة للبنين، وأهنئكم بشهر رمضان، هذا الشهر الكريم العظيم الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، شهر عمل واجتهاد، شهر تغيير نحو الأفضل، شهر دعاء، وشهر شهد على مر التاريخ أحداثا تاريخية غيرت من مجرى التاريخ ودعمت وجود الكيان الإسلامي في العالم، ومنها غزوة بدر الكبرى وفتح مكة ومعركة عين جالوت ومعركة عمورية وفتح أنطاكية ومعركة حطين، واللبنة الأولى لقيام الدولة الأموية في الأندلس، والتي تسمت عليها مدارسنا، والتي تستلهم من هذه الأحداث لتبني جيلا واعدا من طلابنا. والآن إلى درسنا. And our objectives for today is to learn about conditional sentences type 0, type 1 and type 2. We will know, or we will learn when to use each of these and how the sentences are formed. Of course, you need to ask me what are conditional sentences. Just to simplify the task, the conditional sentences are the equivalent of the Arabic جمل الشرط, in which we have جملة شرط وجواب شرط. When a first action or condition happens, a second result or a second action can happen, and we will see the differences between each type of conditional sentences. We are using the same source as last time, slideshare.net, and let's have a look on zero conditional or conditional type 0, first conditional or conditional type 1, and second conditional or conditional type 2. We won't concentrate on third conditional, which is conditional type 3 in this lesson. The first note is that in a conditional sentence we have an if clause in which we have the condition and a main clause in which we find the result. It is the same as in Arabic, جملة شرط and what we call جواب الشرط. So when to use zero conditional or conditional type 0? We use it for present and real factual situations or conditions. Here we are talking generally about evident conditions which result in 100% true actions. We are talking about scientific truths, about facts, about things that don't change. In the if clause, we have a present tense verb, and in the main clause also we have a present tense verb. If I drink a coffee at night, I don't sleep well. This is evident, this is always true. Let's go to conditional type 1. It is used for future, also present, real situations, but it is not the same certainty. there is a possibility that the result doesn't happen even if the condition occurs. If I drink coffee tonight, I won't sleep well. We will see this again. Second conditional or conditional type 2 is used for present or future, unreal, imaginary, impossible or practically impossible situations. Let's go back to the form of conditional type 1. The verb is in the simple present and the verb of the main clause is the future simple or future will. Second conditional, the verb in the if clause is in the simple past as a tense, but I remind you and I repeat, we are talking about the present or the future time. One example, if I drank coffee tonight, I wouldn't sleep well. Focus on wouldn't, which is followed by the bare infinitive of the verb. Let's take some examples which will clarify the idea. Conditional type 0 is used for laws of nature, for actions which are 100% evident. Let's focus on the form. We can begin with the result or the main clause, and the verb is in the present simple. We don't need a comma here, and we have if or when, of course, and the verb is in the present simple. The example will clarify the idea. I get sad if I run out of coffee. This is a little bit personal, but let's go to nature and to labs. If you put ice in the sun, it melts. Let's focus first on the tense of each verb. Put, here it's the simple present, and melts also is in the simple present. So the verb in the main clause which comes after the comma is in the same tense as the verb of the if clause which comes in front position. Again, another example, and it's a law of nature, it is a scientific truth. In the main clause, in the if clause, the verb is in the present simple. We have a comma after the if clause, and the verb which is get, the verb of the main clause, is also in the present simple. So to sum up with conditional type 0, it is made of two parts, the if clause and the main clause. The verb of both parts is in the present simple. The if clause can be at the beginning of the sentence followed by a comma and then the main clause, or it can be put after the main clause without any comma. We use conditional type 0 when we are certain for 100% that the result or the main clause will happen whenever the condition found in the if clause happens. And now let's go to conditional type 1. It is about future situations, even if they are so near to the present. The form, we have an if clause which begins with if or when and followed by a present simple verb, a comma, and the main clause. Note that the verb of the main clause is in the future simple, future will. Here the condition is possible and it may happen, and once it happens, the result can also happen. It's possible, but not for 100%. One example, when I get thirsty, note the verb is in the present simple, comma, I will get some tea. Note the verb of the main clause is in the future simple. So if the person is thirsty, this is possible. Maybe he gets thirsty and maybe not. So in case he gets thirsty, he will get some tea. Another example, and it is a second form where we have the main clause at the beginning of the sentence and the verb, of course, is in the future simple, followed by the if clause which begins with if or when without any comma, and the verb is in the present simple. I will do yoga outside if it doesn't rain today. Of course, the fact or the possibility that it rains is not guaranteed, but still it's possible. So if it doesn't rain, I will do yoga. So if it rains, I won't. Another example, and again focus on the form first. The if clause begins with if or when. The verb is in the present simple, followed by a comma, and we have will, may, might, could, should, followed by the bare infinitive, the base form of the verb. An example, if the weather is good, we may or might go on a picnic, but let's choose may. To sum up with conditional type 1, we should remind that the actions or the situations found in the if clause and the main clause are both possible, but they are not certain. The verb found in the if clause is in the present simple, and the verb of the main clause is essentially in the future simple, will, but we can use other modals. And now let's go to conditional type 2. Type 2 is used for unreal situations which are practically impossible in the present or future time. We are not talking about the past time, we are talking about things that could happen in the present or in the future and not in the past. But the verb found in the if clause is in the past simple time. I repeat, but the actions or conditions are in the present or in the future. The verb in the main clause appear as following: would or could or might. Essentially would followed by the base form or the bare infinitive of the verb. One example: here the first person asks the second about the directions to the museum. He replied, "Sorry, I don't know how to get to the museum. If I knew, I'd tell you, I would tell you, but actually, I don't know." Let's take another example and note here that the sentence begins with the main clause. We have a subject, would or could or might, followed by the bare infinitive, no comma, and the if clause, in which we have the verb in the past simple. This old man does have no children, so he said, "My life would be different if I had children," but actually he doesn't. Note that he is talking about his life in the coming days, in the present and in the future, and not in the past time. Let's take another example, and again let's focus first on the form. The main clause is in front position, it is followed by a comma, and the main clause comes second. The verb of the if clause is in the past simple, and the form of the verb in the main clause is would plus a bare infinitive. Let's take an example. This busy man has no time for his family, so he said, "If I didn't have so much to do, I might or I would spend more time with my family in the present and in the future and not in the past." Let's take a last example with conditional type 2. Imagine that this cat speaks, and imagine he could be a human. What will he say? He will say, "If I was or were a human being, I would or I could serve in the Air Force." But actually, of course, he is not a human. And note here that with the verb be, it is possible to use were instead of was. Here we are at the end of this lesson. I believe we need some practice to make the ideas clearer and to show understanding. Here we are at the end. Just wait the second part of the lesson. See you so soon, safe and healthy.